that too high up if it's there? Is that a problem?
Say something. Let me see.
Okay.
You're good.
I'm good? Okay. Okay, well, it's 1:40.
It's recording, so
Okay.
I'll continue to try to be as undisruptive as possible and
Yep.
figure out what's going on with it.
All right. Okay. All right, we'll get started. It is Friday. Yay. Right? Yes. It doesn't look like the weather's going to impact us next week, but I will just remind you, if at any time Beaufort does close when we were supposed to have class, then there will be an assignment posted in Blackboard, okay? And that's convenient for us because then we can work with that and not try to physically come together on an additional day, okay? So that is beneficial to us. Reminder that your test is a week from today on 9/15, next Friday, and I will give all the detailed information out to the satellite schools that need that, but it will be on the computer. You will have paper to show me your work, okay? Some problems will require you showing me your work, and if you don't show me your work when it's required, it would be wrong. If you show me your work when it's not required, then I will grade that for partial credit. I have also posted in Blackboard a quiz, but the quiz is covering the review information, you know, the stuff that you had lab days on, that kind of stuff. The purpose of that is just to say, make sure you have a good foundation with this because we're going to use this type of information in everything we do. So it has the factoring in there, you know, dealing with your powers and exponents and radicals, just some basic information. You can take it as many times as you want. There is no time limit. I'll even say use your notes. I don't care. I just want you to have got that in your eyes and in your mind so that if you have any questions about it, you can ask me because that is review information. I'm not going to retest you on that on the test. Okay. The other reason that it's in a quiz format is for a couple of reasons. It kind of reminds you of what a test would be like because there's not a help button. So you're in the situation that, oh, I see the screen and there's no help me. I'm going to have to go to my notes. But remember, going to your notes is not an option when you are on the test. So it just kind of is building you up to that moment. And let's see, anything else? Oh, if you were to go into the quiz and start working and then decide, I don't have time to finish, I'm going to leave, it will let you do that. But when you go back in, it's not going to let you see the items that you saw before. So be careful about that. That is not true with the test. You leave the test, you're out. Okay? The test is 60 minutes. You sit down, you begin, and you end. Okay? So that is the difference with the test. Does anybody have any questions about the test, the quiz, or your homework? Okay. I suggest that you go ahead and make sure you're caught up on all your homework and get this quiz done this weekend so that next week the only thing on your plate is to do the homework that you will have on Monday night for 1.8 and to begin studying for the test, which would be Friday. On Wednesday, that is a review day, and you make the review day as good or as poor as you want it to be. Look over your homework. I will upload a review so that you can also, so it's all the information kind of in one spot to help you pull it all together. So you can look at that and see, do you have questions about any particular problem? All right. It's always helpful if you come in and you have a question, don't just say, I don't understand quadratics. Say, number 5 on this problem set is where I got stuck. And I started working it, but maybe here's my problem. Or I didn't even know how to start that problem. But be specific about your questions. Okay? That will help everybody and be more beneficial to you. All right?
I couldn't find the quiz on my math lab, the new quiz.
Okay. I just opened it. Make sure when you're looking on My Math Lab that you choose quizzes to look for. Let me check real quick because I've got it open myself. And it could have the wrong date, so I'll just check real fast for you. All right, it's called Review Chapter Quiz, and it should have opened up at 1 o'clock, so it should be there. Okay? So just check again, and if it's not there for you, shoot me an email, okay, and I'll look specifically at yours. But it should be there. And it's called Review Chapter Quiz.
I don't see on mine also.
All right.
We have it.
I still.
You found it?
Yes.
Where did you find it? Because other people must be looking in the wrong place also.
Is it okay? Under quizzes and tests.
Okay, under quizzes and tests. All right, so under quizzes and tests, it should show up if you choose all, show all assignments. It should show your homework and your quizzes. But if you have clicked on just show your homework, it wouldn't show you that. So make sure you're not missing anything. All right. So
Excuse me.
Yes.
What's the name of the quiz?
Review Chapter Quiz. And make sure you're looking under quizzes. So when you go up here to the top, you'll click quizzes. Yes, in here. So it'll be review date in here. That way, if you have questions, it would benefit others who would ask. And if no one has any questions, I will just start with the next chapter. So your day for however you want to use it, okay? So I'll start. If nobody has questions, I'll just start on the next chapter and we'll go. And if people have questions, I'll answer questions. All right? All right, we're starting in 1.7, and this is inequalities. The thing to remember for inequalities, that's those that have those greater than and less than signs. And if you ever multiply or divide by a negative number, you need to remember to flip your inequality sign. So you treat it just like an equation like you've done before. That's the only difference. And if you don't remember that, put a little note in your notes to if you multiply or divide by a negative number, flip the inequality sign. So I would first just subtract 5 from both sides. Okay, I'm subtracting 5 from both sides. And now I'm going to have to divide, but I'm dividing by the negative 3. So when that happens, I flip the inequality sign. We're going to take just a minute and graph that on the number line. So I always just draw my number line, put 0 there as like a point locator, and then the number of interest is the number 4. So I mark the number 4, and then I'm going to choose whether to use an open circle or a closed circle. Since this just says x is less than 4, x can never actually be 4. So I'm going to use an open circle. And then I'm going to have to decide, am I going to shade to the left or am I going to shade to the right? So you just choose a number on either side if you're not sure, okay? Because you should get familiar enough that when you read that, x is less than 4, you know you're going to the left of 4. And I'm going to shade everything to the left of 4. But if you're not sure, choose a number to the left of 4, like 0, and check it and say, if I let x be 0, is that less than 4? Yes, and so I would want that side, okay? So that's things that you should already know how to do. The next step is something that maybe not everybody has been extremely familiar with, or maybe you haven't used it that much, and this is called interval notation. It's like shorthand for this interval. What my interval notation would look like for this, because you have this number line and it goes to the left forever, it never stops, you're going to use this negative infinity sign that says I'm going to the left forever, I never stop. And infinity signs always have a parentheses. But now as I look to the right of my interval, I do stop at 4. I get very, very close to 4, but it can never actually be 4. So to get as close to 4 with actually not being 4, I'm going to also use a parentheses. If x could have actually been the number 4, been equal to the number 4, I would have used a bracket. Okay, so that's the difference. In your book, and you can make a note of this too, this is also on PowerPoint, which I've uploaded to Blackboard, and I'm going to pull it up right now so that you can see it. This is on PowerPoint in Blackboard for you, already there. It's also in your book on page 151. Okay, so if you're not familiar with interval notation, you might like to refer back to this chart. But once you start getting comfortable with it, it's not very hard to do at all. So let's look at this chart. This first part is written in set notation, okay? I don't know how little it looks like to y'all out there, but the first one says, all right, I want all the x's that are bigger than, that are larger than a. And so what they do is they show you interval notation. If you're not comfortable with that, take a moment, draw it on the number line, all right, so that you can see the picture of that. So I'll do one for you. Like if you had x is greater than 5, where we just had x is less than 5, think about what that looks like on the number line. Here's my 0. My 0 is there just to orient me. I put my 5, the number that's important. Is this going to be a closed circle or an open circle? It's going to be open. And then do I want to shade to the left or to the right? To the right. Okay, so that's things that you've done before. And if you notice on your book here, in your book, they don't use open circles and closed circles. They go ahead and start using brackets and parentheses on the number line. They just use those there, but they're both equivalent. But my interval notation would be, I'm starting at 5. Look as far to the left as you go. I started at 5. 5 wasn't included, so I use parentheses. And then I go off forever to positive infinity. And infinity is not a specific number, so that's always parentheses. All right? And you could have an interval that is between two numbers. So this is an x that's in between a -3 and a +7. Since this does have a beginning and an end, I put those on the number line. I don't have to worry about 0, but if you want to put 0 there, you can, just to orient yourself. I don't even have it drawn to scale. I'm just trying to get a sketch of what's going on. Is the -3 included? No, so it's open circle. Is the 7 included? Yes, so this one would be a closed circle. And clearly, x is between those. So you're shading what's in between. So that's review, open and closed circles. Now interval notation. Just look at your interval. On the left-hand side, how far does it go? it goes to the number 3 and the number -3, and the -3 was not included, so I use parentheses. Then it goes to the number 7 on the right, but the 7 is included, so I use a bracket. Okay, and that's interval notation. Use a parentheses if it's an open circle, like not included. Use a bracket if it is included. All right, so that would be like a greater than and equal to or a less than and equal to. Any questions about that? As we work through and solve inequalities today, we'll always put our answer in interval notation, so you'll get more practice as we go. So here's an example. 4 minus 3x is less than or equal to 7 plus 2x. So you're just going to solve that just like if it were an equation. Just being careful, if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you flip the inequality sign. Depending on which side of the equation you put your x on, one person may have to change the sign and the other person may not have to change the sign. So I'm going to choose to subtract 2x from both sides. Subtract your 4. And then divide by the -5. So that means I'm going to have to flip my inequality sign. So x is greater than or equal to. That's pretty ugly. Okay, so I had to flip this sign, so be careful about that. Interval notation, all right? Again, take just a second and sketch it if you're not sure about what's going on. I'm putting my 0 there just to orient myself. So I know I'm over here somewhere on the left-hand side at -3/5. You don't even have to be extremely, it's just a sketch, So this time, will I have an open or closed circle? Closed because it has the equals to under there. And then it says I want the x's larger than, greater than. We remember with the inequality sign, it's always open to the larger number and it points to the smaller. So it's open to the x. So it's saying that x's are going to be bigger than -3/5. So I'm going to come and shade to the right. And then I can put my interval notation, -3/5 with a bracket, because that's the left-hand side, and it goes off to infinity with a parentheses, that's the right-hand side. The infinity, whether it's negative or positive, will always have a parentheses, and that's because infinity means I'm going on forever, I'm never stopping, and I'm not a specific number. So you just always use parentheses with infinity. Any other questions? So that's important that as you practice, you get comfortable with interval notation. That's an area where I see errors in often, just because people haven't really done it that much before now. So make sure you practice that. One of your homework problems asks you about a break-even point. They're applying this to business. And in business, you have revenue, which is money that's coming in. Cost is money that has to go out. You're thinking about profit because you want to make money. And you want money coming in to be more than money going out, right? Break even would be when your revenue and your cost would be the same. So in this PowerPoint, I wanted to show you. Find it. Here we go. This is talking about finding the break-even point. This is example 3. It is in your book, and it is on your PowerPoints that are posted in Blackboard, okay? So if you want to make notes, what you want to make note of is that this is the break-even point example, all right? And you want to write in your notes that you have a revenue equal to 4x and a cost equal to 2x plus 1,000. The question here says, if the revenue and cost of a certain product are given by the following equations, where x is the number of units produced and sold, at what production level does R at least equal C? So you want to be able to translate the words at least into an inequality sign. So R being at least C means greater than or equal to C. So in order to work that problem, you would need to know that at least means greater than or equal to. So for this problem, you would have 4x because that represents